kwen, yeah. Cha 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 cha. Igbo kwezu onu, yeah. Oko nyamili, nyamili.
And that is what the Nigerian
Koko nyamiri, nyamiri,
and they are walking off
Koko
elders.
nyamiri, nyamiri. Ibole, Ibole, Ibobo, ndama mihe. Ibole, Ibole, Ibobo, ndama mihe. Ebulanyelu, 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 ebulanyelu. Anamabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke. Anamabara nụ n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke. Igbo bụ ndị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ ndị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ ndị ike, ụmụ Igbo bụ ndị ike. Koko nyamini, nyamini. Were obi dị mma, were obi nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị mma, were obi nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Asị na mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi dị mma nwayọọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Asị na mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi dị mma nwayọọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Asị na mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-ahụ ihe, ha ga-ahụ ihe ọma niile Chukwu kere. Ọ dịghị onye ọbụla Chukwu si na ọka ya mma, ọ dịghị onye ọbụla ka ibe ya mma. Were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Asị na mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-ekwu eziokwu, ha ga-ekwede ihe kwuru mere eme. Ọ dịghị onye ọbụla okwu ya kacha ụtọ na ntị. Omenala anyị bụ eziokwu anyị. Were obi dị mma na-eto, were obi nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị nwayọọ na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Asị na mmadụ niile ndị bi n'ụwa ha ga-anụ ihe, ha ga-anụ ebe Chineke na-ajụ. Ọ bụ gịnị mere ume n'ụwa jere ibe ha iro, ebe ya bụ Chukwu kere ụwa dị mma. Were obi dị mma nwayọọ na-eto Chineke, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke. Were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke nwayọọ, were obi dị mma na-eto Chineke.
Good morning, day one. Tito Nile Diri Chineke. Welcome to another episode of Chiism Live. Thank you for joining us today. It's obvious that while you're here, because you're here, that means you're alive and you're still breathing, you're working amongst the living. I'd like to bring in my co-host today, Yudi Onyoha. Imari Yudi, okay, madam.
Okay, Dibia Magikao, Ndewono. Ndewono.
I am fine. I'm excited about today. I'm excited about today because we're going to have an exciting lecture today by none other than Dibia Chiedozie. He's going to really thrill us with an understanding the logic of Ekpere and or everything else that he's going to talk about today. So Yudi, how you doing? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Looking forward to this lecture. You know, we all, no matter how steep we are in this tradition and spirituality of Africa, and the knowledge that we've accumulated over the years, you never stop learning. So I am looking forward to learning a little bit more, you know, and add to my repertoire from Dibia Chiedozie. So looking forward to it.
Yes, you can never learn too much. You can never know too much. So it's always good when more and more information is handed over to us. But before we move any further, I just want to remind my darling nephew, Emeka. We are so proud of him.
Oh, yeah.
Emeka made this list. You thought I didn't see that? Yes. Y'all don't have on the road, okay? All right. You keep it up, big guy. Keep it moving.
I'm so proud, man. Proud father.
Yes. Yeah, I'm so proud of our girl. And also, my daughter got just recently with NASA. Yes.
Kelena.
With NASA. For her doctoral work. So proud. And then I'm proud of my niece who's gotten a big job. I mean, these girls, these kids are killing it. The Onion has are on the move, okay? We are not playing. We are not playing at all. So, and I want to thank Woke Gochukwu for the wonderful job he's doing in Nigeria. For those those women that we are supporting. At some point we're going to talk about that. But before we go any further, let us say a very Dibia, as you're going to pray for us today, I would just like you to please add I don't want to give the name because they don't necessarily want their name given, but there's somebody going through some very difficult times right now, health-wise, and would like you to please just say whoever that person is, give us a little bit prayer for her so that she and her husband will heal quickly. It's so important. So on that note, Dibia Yudi, I am going to take you out and I'm going to bring our speaker for today, Dibia Chiedozie. Yes. Hello, Dibia Chiedozie. How are you? Look at you. Look at you.
Good.
We're dedicating today to you.
Yes, I'm in the cheese spirit.
You are in the cheese spirit, and we are so glad to have you here. What a blessing. And so you're going to feel us. You know, your presentations are always very exciting. So before we get any further, let us welcome you in with some drumming. Okay.
All right, you're all welcome to today's program. I start the program off with a prayer today is Eke. In Igbo ontology, mythology, and spirituality, Eke is water, and is the most of the primordial of the four elements. And in Igbo thought system, Eke is the day that Okike Keruwa, that's God Almighty, Chineke, created and projected the physical universe to be. And so we're praying on the spirituality of Eke. And since Eke is water, yeah, I have a glass of water with me. And the reason I have it, you will find out soon. Okike Keruwa, no bachita weke, kaginwa okike keruwa keruwa, waburungugu, derekode. Keke moni nena na mmiri si ka mmiri na-enye anyị ndụ. Ndụ ka anyị kpere, a sị na mmiri na ala ga na-ebikọta biko anyị sị onye ahụ na-adịghị. Mmiri bụ nwaanyị, a sị biko okike kere ụwa onye ọhụrụ na-adịghị nye ya ndụ. Ezinụlọ a dịka otu mmiri na ala ji wee birikọta biri n'udo, anyị chọrọ ka inye ezinụlọ a onye asị na ha adịghị ka ikike nye ya ikike, kụnye ya ume, maka mmiri bụ ndụ, nye ya ndụ, ahụike, ahụ udo, nye ezinụlọ ahụ udo, ahụike, ka ha na-ehochi na ahụike kwa ụbọchị. Ka anyị nyere yọta ike, biko Chukwu okike abịa ma nụrụ olu anyị, nụrụ olu anyị. Ka m na-akpọ gị ogu ka m sị gị biko ịkpatuo ya na asa m, nụrụ ekpere m na asa m mmiri a, maka oke mmiri si n'obodo gafee, ya egbu ogbe, ya eburu obodo, ihe niile bụ ihe ọjọọ anyị si gị bupụrụ ya anya. Ebe mmiri bụ ndụ, anyị si gị nye anyị ndụ, nye anyị ndụ. Ịtụọ mmanya nke gị, ala nwụọ mmiri, nwụjuo mmiri afọ. Asị m ala kpọrọ nkụ, ya nwụjuo mmiri afọ. Ihe niile na-esi ndụ 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 n'aha ndụ 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 ndụ. Anyị sị ekpere anyị kpere, ya wụ mkpụrụ osisi anyị dụrụ n'ala. Otu a anyị si kpọkọ gị, ka ị si na-atụ mmanya nke gị, anyị na-atụ mmanya a, sị ka anyị si atụ mmanya a, na-atụ mmiri a, so otu a mmiri anyị si atụ ya, ọ ndụ ka ọ na-enye ala, ndụ ka ọ na-enye anyị, ndụ ka anyị kpere, ogologo ndụ, ahụike, ahụ udo, ihe anyị kpere ka niile, ọganihu, akụ na ụba, ihe niile ga-ezuru anyị, ọgaziri ga-agazichara anyị. Ka anyị ji kpọkọgo ụbọchị taa na ikike niile si na mmiri, anyị si unu jikọọ aka n'ụbọchị taa, na ndị egede ndị mbụ jikọọ n'aka nụrụ na ekpere ụbọchị taa. Otu anyị kpọkọ unu, ọ kpabi anyị akpabie, sị ekezichala ihe niile mma ma ụbọchị taa n'ọfọ. Ekene m unu, ka anyị kpezu ka o mezu. So today I'll be speaking on the topic, the logic of ekpere, prayer, and Nkwenye, incantation in Igbo spirituality. Note that this word Nkwenye, you will soon find out its various meanings. So we'll be speaking on three things you should know: what is ekpere, what is Nkwenye, incantation, and what is logic in Igbo, and how are the three interrelated. Next slide. So let's start by looking at ekpere. First, we'll start with what I call conceptual clarification, or clarification of concepts, which is in Igbo. I titled it Nkowa Echiche. All right, so we must proceed by clarifying all our terminology. So what is ekpere, Ikpe Ikpere? What does it mean? So in common parlance, the expression Ikpe Ikpere simply means to pray. However, a deeper evaluation reveals deeper meanings of the Igbo Ikpe Ikpere. How? The Igbo Ikpe could mean judgment or simply to judge. Also, the Igbo Ekpere is a two-syllable word, next slide, which can translate as to judge, judging, to plead, pleading, or to petition or petitioning. So when we pray, we do all of this because just like I have done, that is why you see that Dibia, as a wine, Dibia, first said since we're going to talk about Ekpere, she said I should start my lecture by praying. And you see that everything I did in the prayer that I just said, you will see it explained. Because when we pray, we must make judgments, we must make pronouncements. When we make pronouncements, we are judging, we are making evaluations, and there are processes involved, and that you will find that. Now, so when we break down the word ekpere, it's a combination, like we said, two words, and kpere, to form ekpere simply translates as prayer. Now, could mean to, and then kpere, to pray. All right, so you get that now. So this makes prayer to be a deeply heartfelt judgment, plea, or petition tailored towards pronouncing one's solemn requests. It could be requests or requests, just like I've done in the prayer. I said I made some requests concerning for those of us who are ill, God Almighty Chineke, by his magical, miraculous, and mysterious ways, gave us water to give us life. And so he should restore all of us who are ill, fill us with life, restore us back to sound health, and also prosper us with longevity and wealth and all the good things that we need, love and all things. That's what I pray. So you make a solemn request or express one's thanksgiving to a spirit force. A spirit force that we speak about will be Chineke or other spirits of water, of the ancestors, and so on and so forth. Next slide. And so that's so much about ekpere. So at least you have been able to capture something about ekpere. Now let's look at Nkwenye, which can translate as okwu, that is words or prayers said with force. It can also translate as Ikpe Ikpere. Okay, that is to say you are making certain plea, but you are making it with force, potency, right? And then when you are going to make incantation, you must make sure that you have in your mind, you have a clear meaning and projection of what you want, and you focus on one thing, all right? That's the whole essence of incantation. There are also other dimensions to incantation, which I will explore in the future, but for this particular lecture, I just want to look at the logic and how it connects with ekpere. And so, Nkwenye could also mean okwu or Ikpe in Igbo. Okay, and that's the word for incantation. Now, Nkwenye or incantation can be regarded as an advanced form or meta kind of prayer meant to achieve a miraculous or magical results. So incantation is more advanced than prayer, and when you are incantating, there are already given words. You are trained in it. It's not something that you just wake up to say. You are trained in it, and there are specific incantations for specific requests and specific results. So you find that those who use incantation are specialists, dibias, and you have the Dibia Opozo, Dibia Chiedozie, Dibia Afa, and so on and so forth. Each one of these are specialized, and most of when they require to do very high level of prayer, they use incantation. So they go beyond prayer, right? So the word Nkwenye or the expression okwu suggests a causal process of mind over matter and or mind over mind, meant to achieve a psychological or hypnotic effect. Remember, I said there are other dimensions, but today I'm looking just at the logic. So because when I am uttering incantation on specific issue, what result do I want to achieve? I want to achieve sometimes quick results, right? I don't know if you can cast your minds back to, I think there was a particular episode where Dibia talked about making a special prayer for someone, and before she could finish that prayer, or is it 20 minutes or within just a day she did the prayer, a call came in saying that that particular candidate had the job he had been looking for weeks or months, all right? And so that's the kind of thing that incantation does. That's why I say it's a meta or advanced kind of prayer, right? So it connotes ritual recitations of verbal chimes or spells to produce magical or miraculous effects. That's the essence of incantation. Next slide. Next slide. All right. So that's the whole essence about incantation. Please, next slide. Oh, all right. Okay. So let's continue. Now, when we talk about incantation, you see that it requires a high level of mental concentration. And that's why incantation requires you to do something extra. Incantation is not just something you open your mouth to say. You are trained in it. It is by training to become a Dibia that you acquire the act of incantation. And then you are trained on the use of each incantation. Now, the next thing you have to know is usoro. Now, usoro in Igbo means process, procedure, system, systematization, structure, structuring, configuring things. That's usoro. Everything must follow a particular process. And that's the whole thing that logic is all about. Logic is about creating mental structures which we use in directing physical activities. And so when you are doing prayer, you are doing incantation, you discover that you follow certain logical procedures. If you don't obey these logical procedures, then you are not saying prayer. You do not need to know about these logical procedures, but because you have heard other people pray, when you pray, you follow that pattern. And each time you follow that pattern, you discover that you are obeying the logic of prayer, the logic of incantation. Now, in the case of incantation, like I said, you are already trained in it. And because the human thought cannot proceed without logic. In fact, to think requires logic. To think requires process. To think requires organization. That is what thinking is all about. Because thinking in itself is the unification of so many representations in one experience. When you are thinking, and you are thinking towards solving a particular problem, so many things come into your mind, you will synthesize them to achieve a result. So thinking in itself entails unifying things, synthesizing things, bringing things into unity. And that act of bringing things into unity, it's in itself usoro. So when you come to incantation, as you are incantating, you discover that you are following certain logical procedures. The first logical procedure is deduction. In deduction, you apply universal rules to particular instances. And these universal or general rules is to say, for instance, when the Igbo say, akwụkwọ akpara n'aka nri dị n'aka nri, nke akpara n'aka ekpe dị n'aka ekpe. Just categorization. That is to say, whatever we have configured to belong to the right is in the right. And whatever we have configured to be on the left side is on the left side. That's categorization. All right? And then, for instance, the Igbo will say, whatever we do not know that is strange, we study it and give it a name. Whatever name we give to it is the name it bears. This is a way of applying universal rule. because the rule of deduction is that general rules must guide particular experiences. And as human beings, we cannot think without first of all projecting. That's the difference between animals and human beings. For animals, they just go about their activities uncoordinated. They are led by instincts. But the difference between anumano, and mado, the mando, is that we have thought system. Whatever we do is already guided a priori before we experience, we project, we design, we and so on, so on and so forth. We create patterns, procedures. And so that is why in prayer, and especially in incantation, if you want to achieve results, you must apply universal rules to particular experiences or particular issues, well targeted at. And what you are reminding Chineke is that you made these universal rules. And if you made these universal rules, then as you have made these universal rules to guide particular experiences, as I utter this word, the way you have done, you have to obey me. Here you are calling on Chineke to obey his own logic or her own logic, whatever Chineke is. That's about deduction. Now, induction is that you cannot, when you are making the inference, which is a causal process, and applying a general rule, at the same time, simultaneously, you give instances of what has happened in the past. And especially in incantation, you say, if my forefathers have done this and it worked, on this very instance, you have to answer my call. So in induction, you move from past instances to present and future occurrences. That is to say, what happened in the past is a platform for us to stand on to guide our present and teleguide our future. Now, when you combine induction and deduction, you achieve hermeneutics. And hermeneutics is a process of alpha divination in itself. Because in the whole process of prayer and incantation, induction does not come before deduction. Deduction does not come before induction. We only do this for the sake of our lectures, like we say, for didactic reasons. While we are praying, all these rules function at the same time. And that's why the process of incantation, alpha divination, is hermeneutic. Okay? And hermeneutics cannot happen without imaginative visioning. Because incantation for us as Africans, prayer for us as Africans, follows some symbolic processes. When we make prayers, we do not just make prayers. We don't utter mere prose. We invoke images. And these images are symbols. And that's why you saw what I did when I made the prayer. I made the prayer on the principle of Eke. Eke symbolizes water. And I had a glass of water with me. And I invoked the principles of water. And I made my prayer. That's how Africans pray. We invoke the life force, the potent life force, and use it to make prayer. That in itself is hermeneutics. In that whole process, both the general rule and particular rules, they interfuse to form symbolic instances. And that's exactly what we mean when we are making prayer or making incantation within African spirituality. If you understand me, you are welcome. They would.
Oh man, that is, how do you say? I'm gonna do it real slow, just like that. That was absolutely wonderful. Let me just press you on something real quickly, and it has to deal with logic. When you talk about logic in prayer, and the idea, for example, when you talk about other religions in the world, the idea of prayer really, it's there's this strong marriage between prayer and magical expectation. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure,
Right?
sure.
You expect something magical to happen when you pray. You
Yeah.
expect situations that you may consider impossible to all of a sudden become possible.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
Uh-huh. So, but then when you're talking about logic in prayer, not just in terms of the processes, it's sort of like going from one level to another level to another level till you get to a specific level where you now summarize the whole prayer, right?
Yeah, sure.
And you cast or fall upon it,
Yeah.
right? When you cast or fall upon prayer, you
Sure,
are
sure.
simply bringing it to life. So let it be. You speak it into existence when you
Sure.
say or for,
Yeah.
right? Now, a lot of people, when you talk about prayer, there's always this idea that you could pray for anything and it will happen. As a Dibia, what is your opinion on the idea that you can negate all logic when you're praying and you pray for things that seemingly are impossible to ever, bring into existence, but you go ahead and do it anyway? So do you think that it's prudent in prayer to pray for things that could be logically achieved, or just pray for things that are pretty much impossible to happen? But then when you pray that way, it's almost like a waste of your time and energy because you're praying for something that can never manifest, no matter who you're praying to.
Well, yeah, to answer your questions, I will go about it this way. When we pray, we are following the religious spiritual teaching that the universe came into being miraculously. The universe came into being magically, mysteriously, because that's why we say that no one created Chineke. Chineke happened to be on its own. And in that instance, no one witnessed how Chineke brought the universe to be. And all we know is that miraculously, mysteriously, magically, Chineke projected the world to be. And we believe if we go to ancient Egyptian ontology, Igbo ontology, he did so by thought and words. Then in the Christian Bible, thought disappears, words replace thought. But in the Igbo ontology and Egyptian ontology, you see thought and words go together. Now, so we also believe that that's why we say we are made in the image of Chineke, that as Chineke's creator, inventor, we are co-creators. That's what we are, Mando, human being, in any language. And so just like Chineke mysteriously brought the universe and everything in it into being, that's how also we bring things into being mysteriously. For instance, we are talking today on StreetYard, a TV show, and we are all in different parts of the world. And there wasn't such a thing like that. It is, yes, Chineke has created a natural order that there are waves, and these waves are enriched by elements that we call in English oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, which are life force carriers. And so we can transmit television waves, radio waves, or GSM waves, and all kinds of waves through all of that, these elements. Like we say in Igbo, ikuku bụ onye ozi. So they are messengers. They can carry our messages across. And so the way God created, we can create. And the way Chineke altered the universe to be and things to be, we are mimicking Chineke by altering. However, there are things we must know that we are not totally Chineke. We are not completely Chineke. we are mixed. We are both mind, body, and soul. And so the law that we have to obey laws at the mental level, at the spiritual level, and at the physical level. Now, depending on what we call prayer, if prayer is solely relied on words, uttering words, and desires, wanton desires, then envy can come in, by which I see Dibia Chiedozie and I see Dibia. I see the two of you and I begin to envy you. I want to be like you. And I want to mysteriously, magically, miraculously be at your stage. And then I begin to utter prayers in that dimension. Well, from my little knowledge, any word you utter, you have uttered it into the atmosphere. You have uttered it into the cosmic. Those words you uttered and those thoughts you projected will be answered. But if you do not have the structure and you are asking for what you have not prepared for, then the first thing the cosmic will do is to put you in disarray. It will knock you silly and knock you out from the position you are. I'll give you an example. If I know I don't have the resources and I don't have the position to go and live in VGC, or Banana Islands, which is the highbrow area here in Lagos, and I'm praying to occupy, maybe what I can afford is face me and face you, all right? And I'm praying to occupy, live in a mansionette. Well, if I keep doing that prayer and I don't cancel it, the first thing the cosmic will do is to take me out of the place I am and put me in disarray, put me in turbulence. Along the way, I might find myself in Abeokuta, or find myself in Abia State, or find myself in the village, and I keep doing things, I keep trying. Then at the end of the day, I end up building myself a mansionette, not in VGC, but in my village. And that will take 10 years, 5 years, 10 years. So, because what we forget, like we say, when we say God uttered and the world came to be, Big Bang Theory is trying to tell us through science that even when God uttered, it took several ounce and ounce and ounce of light years for those things to materialize. So even those things will say they are magical, they are mysterious. It is in our thoughts. Meanwhile, in nature, nature is established on logic. Nothing is achieved by proxy. And this is where wrong teaching comes in. When people are made to believe that Israelites crossed the Red Sea, when people are made to believe that manna fell from heaven.
That's the point,
So, because we got the wrong teaching.
That's why I asked the question.
But yes, in our spirituality, there are some things that you are taught to acquire through incantation. Say, for instance, if someone needs money, you need money dearly. Some people are taught the process of incantation, of going to incantate into Karika Papaya, Popo. And when he brings one of them down, he appeals to the Popo and say, what I want is one bundle of dollar, 100 bundle. And it will happen. But as soon as you finish that, because you have bypassed a lot of processes to achieve something miraculously, you must pay for it. You must pay for it. After you have finished spending the money for that, you will go through 6 to 1 year or 2, even sometimes 3 years drought. And when you go to Dibia Chiedozie, and you go, he will ask you, what did you do? If you say I did, you say, oh, you have bypassed the process, and so you have to pay. So that is why we must teach our children the right sense of prayer. The universe is established on procedures, on logic. This logic are regular, and that's the whole thing about Ofonogu. Our ancestors anchored their prayer on Ofonogu, and that is why they taught us the virtue of Ndidi. And they say pray, when you go to any very sound dibia, the first thing it will tell you, when you pray primarily for longevity and sound health, and then buy patience. If you cannot buy it, develop it, ndidi. It is the highest of the ndidi kanhenile, because he or she who has longevity and is in sound health, we have all the good things that he or she wants. That is the logic. That's where the African mode of prayer and the ancient way of prayer is the best. We are taught to follow the ordinance of the universe, not to do things through proxy. But because anything you get through proxy, you must pay for it.
Wonderful. You know, first of all, let me apologize for the challenge with your PowerPoint. I was just having difficulty upload, you know, it cuts off and I keep trying to bring it back. But I said, you know, he knows his stuff. He doesn't need this. Before we had PowerPoint, he was a Dibia. So he knows exactly how to continue with the presentation. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
You know, one of the characteristics of African prayer that I would like you to touch about is the fact that in African spirituality, anywhere we are, where people are gathered, that's when prayer happens, right?
Sure.
And prayer, and prayer often involves singing and dancing, you know, getting in your element, you know, becoming, you know, you create a spiritual atmosphere with all that, you know. Now, unfortunately, in the past, it was looked down upon as voodoo, or, you know, we're doing all these crazy things, whereas the spirit needs to be unleashed. The spirit has to be out there to create the environment, you know, to heighten your. Now, let me ask you, does it mean, do you think that the unity of energies coming together, does it amplify the power of the prayer? Does it?
Let me get the question again.
Do you think that the energy, the unity energy of, you know, when we come together and we're singing and all of that, does that amplify the power of the prayer?
Oh, well, it does. And this is where we talk about clean spirit. And that's why our ancestors taught us to be as white and whiter than snow. And if we can cast our minds back to when we did the lecture on Okwanzu, that is to say the container which we put the white chalk, nzu. Now, and if we can cast our mind back, Dibia Chiedozie explained to us after that particular lecture that the place we found the nzu is at the deep boil of the earth, and it's always standing neat on its own, unblemished. Now, so our ancestors used that to symbolize that we must always radiate good spirit, positive energy. And the reason they said so is because whenever we gather and we share energies together, the energies will grow. Because they say where you have one positive energy, it can make so many negative energy to get balance. And then when you have two positive energies, they become like 2,000. And so when you have 50, 100, 2,000, 1 million people with clean energy, wow, the energy, that's it. And then you now in unison join your energy and focus on a particular issue, the result will be faster. And that is the whole sense behind Christian Muslim prayer, fasting, I mean to say, Lent and the Ramadan. And the day I realized this particular secret, I stopped going to church and to any gathering that does not involve the African way of praying for us or joining anything that has to do with negative energy. Because in actual fact, those miracles we claim in churches and so on and so forth, it is the people's energy radiating with the cosmic energy. So, and that is why when you come to the Dibia's house, the Dibia will tell you, please don't think anything negative. Think positive.
Yeah.
And that is also why if you go to the church, they try to talk to you to generate positive energy. And I said the Pentecostal churches, they tell you, here we don't think negative. I will not mention the name of the church, but in 1989, then I was in year 3 in the university, here in University of Lagos. So my uncle and the wife, of course, wanted to convert me to start attending that particular church. And it's a well-known church all over the world, and I won't mention the name. So I was taken to that church, but before I went, I psyched myself up and I called on Chukwu and my chi, said, I want to know the secret of this particular church. And so I went into the church, and usually the way Pentecostal churches arrange their sitting is that there's usually about something you can call about if ruler is 1 foot, there's usually about 2 feet gap between one seat and another. So that's when I knew what that meant, so that the ushers can monitor those who are not closed, whose eyes are not closed. So the miracle does not happen if you don't close your eye. And so where I stood, there was a woman in my front, and that woman at my front was very brief, barely 5 feet. Then you will notice maybe she's a kind of prayer warrior, and that maybe she has been fasting for days because of her looks and the way she dressed. And so I noticed the woman was uncomfortable that I did not close my eye. Then one of the church weddings were going around making sure everybody shut their eyes. So they walk up to me and say, close your eyes. So what I did, I shut one eye and left one eye open. The woman was uncomfortable and she signaled. And so they came up to me and said I should close my eye. So I have a way of closing my right eye permanently and leaving my left eye a bit open. You will not notice it. So it was open. And so what she did, she was satisfied that I had shut my eyes. She bent down, pulled out a stuff from under the seat where she was sitting. And so she pulled out that stuff, and in that stuff she pulled out another bag, and then she pulled out another bag and a third bag, a kind of 4 bag, and then she now brought out something, and that thing she brought out is a complete African thing. It's what you find in the house. It is not something negative, but because they have been castigating African thing, so they still to use it. But that is what they use in the churches, and that in the Yorubas call it olubo. It is a spiritual engine made to magnet whatever your thought, your utterance, your thought or utterance is magnetic to the cosmic. So that is why they say pray, 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 pray. As you are saying it, it's magneting it. So it is the energy, our energy and the cosmic energy. We are all energies. Don't forget our ontology. Our ontology is Chukwu's, Chineke's energies permeates everything. So there's energy everywhere. And what we are doing is to invoke those energies and channel them towards one particular request. When we do that, then you now understand why the owners, the proprietors of the church and organizations that have the people, why they grow in leaps and bounds, because we channel our energies in enriching other people's spirituality and well-being. I think I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, and then I'll go to Yudi, but I wanted to just throw this in. Something that I really noticed that in church, you're told to be quiet. Shh, don't make noise in church. That sort of thing. Now, I suppose there are 2 parts to the reason. If you're quiet, you can focus, you can concentrate. But and then they have a certain time that you can sing and bring out your songbook and you sing and all of that. But to me, That's not how we operate as Africans. Africans are boisterous when they pray, when they sing, when they dance, and all of that. As again, the objective being to unleash that, to create a heightened spiritual atmosphere. I don't think it's very heightened when everybody's quiet and making sure that we don't make noise and all that sort of thing. What do you think, Yudi? I'll ask Yudi this question. What are your thoughts on that? And Dibia Chiedozie, you can add to that. Are we stymied, in other words, as Africans, when we pray, when we're in an environment that demands that we're quiet?
Well, yeah, I totally see where you're going. First of all, right before I, touch on that a little bit, let me just go back to Dibia Chiedozie's summation. I'll put it this way: Imemma inatamma, imenjo inatanjo. When you're praying, you have two options. Either you go into a prayer believing that what you're going to pray about is going to manifest. In other words, you're going into this prayer with a positive outlook, with a positive energy, that this prayer is going to manifest your wishes, that you trust in your relationship with the ancestors, with Chineke, with the spirits that do positive things, with a positive energy. You're confident of that before you even begin or start praying. Because if you don't believe, you can't pray.
Yes.
I mean, what are you praying for if you don't believe that what you're going to be praying for is going to happen? There's no point in you praying. You're only praying because you have this positive energy that your prayers will be answered, provided that your prayer makes sense. It's part of this logic that you're talking about. And then secondly, if you cannot go into praying negatively. Otherwise, you're just there because everybody else is there, or you're just going through the motion. As a matter of fact, on a personal level, if you don't believe, you don't pray. Nobody's watching you. There's nobody to impress. If you don't believe that there are forces out there that can channel your thoughts and your desires and your wishes to the Creator, right? Which is the ultimate spiritual authority. That's why religion became automatic in you in the first place, because when you looked around as a human being, now this is from a spiritual, context, of course, and all the life-sustaining forces, the meat you're eating, the land you're standing on, the rivers that contain the fish that you eat, the rain coming from the skies, everything that sustains you as a human being, you ascribe to something greater than yourself. Once you ascribe the existence of you and the life-sustaining forces to something other than yourself as reason why you exist, religion becomes automatic in you, and now you feel that you have a duty of reverence to perform, to give thanks to this Creator of all things. That is the etymology of religion. That's what religion means. Before you get into the spirituality of how you live your life and the relationships that you have with your environment, so on and so forth. So like Dibia Chiedozie was espousing, during his lecture, it is the energy that you bring into the church that is going to, or into your prayer session, or your bastion, or your mosque, or what have you, that is going to determine the extent of your success when it comes to your prayers being answered and going through the exercise in the first place. You cannot pray if you don't believe. If you don't believe, you don't pray at all. So we assume that everybody involved in the prayer exercise or the duty that you feel compelled to perform the religion that automatically exists in you once you have this realization that something other than you created everything. So you have to give thanks to this creator. So you create your images that look like you because you believe that this creator must look like you because you're here. And through trial and error, you've been able to determine those things that are good for you to help perpetuate your existence in this world. Because Chineke is in you. Because while you're praying, while you're involved in all manners of activities in your life to help to parlay your existence and fortify your spiritual being, you understand that there's something that you owe a responsibility to. You understand that that something is just not an outside force, but also your environment, and your environment includes humans. In the end, it's the human that is going to come after everything that you have. The plant is not coming after it, neither is a lion or natural forces like earthquakes. All those things build something. Natural forces build something. They destroy, they build something. It's a process. If you get in the way, you get swallowed. Regardless of how much praying you're doing, prayer logic. You can't build a home right next to a volcano, a volcanic mountain, and then when it explodes and your home is destroyed and maybe everybody in your family is killed and you survive, then you're complaining about the fact that somebody must have sinned that did something wrong, and that's why God sent the volcano to wipe out your family, to destroy your existence. But you forget the fact that you built a house next to a volcano, and if the volcano erupts, what in the world do you think will happen to your house? This is logic in religion, in spirituality, in your belief system. What are you believing in? Why they're telling you to be quiet, not to watch, not to see anything. I remember a story my father told us when he was younger, going to church. And every time the preacher, when they do the collection and they pass the plates around and everybody puts their money, then they bring it onto the altar for the reverend to bless it. Reverend tells everybody to close their eyes. But there was this particular guy who refuses to close his eyes, like Dibia Chiedozie Okoro. And this particular guy, he will close his eye. So when they feel like everybody have closed their eyes, the reverend will start blessing the money that was put into the pot, and then he will take some of them and shove it into his pocket. and this guy is sitting there watching him. So after the service, he goes back to the preacher and tells everybody, this guy is a thief. I'm going to come back to this church. I'm going to give him any more money. If that is where this money that we put into this church, if this is where he goes, I don't believe in God anymore. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just talking about these things because we talk about logic of prayer, and we talk about the positive energy that needs to be in existence, when you're doing the incantation and all that, and that is all true. At the same time, it's being illogical that gets us into some of this demise spiritually. Praying for something when you are not willing to work towards what you're praying for. Trying to win the lottery, but you didn't buy a ticket. But you believe that God does the impossible, that Chineke can give you anything that you wish for. All you got to do is ask for it. That's not true. Like Dibia Chiedozie talked about, there's logic in praying. And most of that logic is whatever you're praying for, You have to be willing to work for it, to get to it. You also have to be able to cultivate the right relationship with your fellow human beings who will help you along the way to get it. This is not an independent thing. There's no blessing coming for you directly without involving somebody else. If you prayed for money, somebody's going to give you that money. There's nothing you pray for beyond natural forces like rain. You pray for rain. And they even have rainmakers. You could pray for plenty of harvest. It's going to involve rain. It's going to involve soil. It's going to involve you coming in there and toiling the land and making sure that the soil is healthy. It's you managing your environment that is going to secure a bountiful harvest. You're half of the solution of what you pray for. The Dibia will ask you, what have you done? Tell me a little bit about your life. When they make their diagnosis, it's not just about your condition as they see it, but it's also about what may have led up to it. What have you done along the way? That involves logic, reasoning, thinking. How did we get here? It's not about magic. It's not Harry Potter. It's not about coming with a magic stick at your hand and going, boom, and all of a sudden the Red Sea parts in two and you're walking right through it. Those are symbolic, but some people take it as literal, and then you end up in trouble. So the point here is, and Dibia Chiedozie, just articulated it up just perfectly. There's logic. There's a system. There are certain things that you have to have in mind when you're trying to go into these negotiations with the spiritual realm, with the ancestors, with Chineke, with positive karma. There's a systematic way of doing things. And not only that, beyond the systematic way, there's a level of logic involved in prayer and what you ask for, and what your responsibilities are behind what you're praying for, how you expect that to manifest. You want to start a business, but you don't want to spend any money. You want to be an artist, but you don't know how to draw. You want to run track. You want to be the world heavyweight boxing champion, but you've never put a glove on before or even sparred in a ring. You want to pray for things that you've never attempted, and you just think that because you pray for it, you laid back, that it's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen that way. Most of the time, 90% of the time or more, is going to happen because of your direct involvement and the involvement of people around you, your relationships, how you treat people. All that stuff come into play when you pray, when you're asking for things positive to happen in your life. You have to be logical about it. You have to be involved with your human beings positively, and also your environment requires a lot of nurturing from us. What it sustains us can easily be taken away. And half the time we will, hasten our demise because of how we've loved our environment, how we've loved people around us. Any king who has nobody to rule is not a king. Did you hear what I just said? Anybody who calls himself a king but have no subjects is no king. Same thing with your relationship with your fellow human being. If nobody sings your praises, man, I mean, your existence is meaningless if nobody ever sings your praise. Make sure that people sing your praise positively. And the only way to do it is to be involved with your fellow human beings, with your own conscience, love your environment, and follow the logic of prayer. That's my little 2 bits. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dibia, dear Chiedozie, I'm sorry. Could you respond from your perspective what I said earlier about confining people during prayer? You know, giving our nature to be flamboyant, to be extravagant, if I may use all those expressions, you know, to be in the flow with nature, so to speak, you know, the dancing, the music, and all that. But then you find that you go to some churches and you're supposed to be so quiet. What are your thoughts? How does that impact prayer, if it does at all? It may
Yeah.
not impact, but
For me here, coming from the African perspective, what I see is happening here in some churches is that they bring the atmosphere of the shrine into the church. Because when you are at the shrine, we are not supposed to make noise, be lousy. We're supposed to be attentive. We are supposed to focus. We are supposed to project so that we can hear the voices of the spirits and the messages they have for us. I think that is the atmosphere that some churches, especially the Orthodox churches, have invoked into the church. And if you look at the background such churches are coming from, they come from the background of Roman mysticism, Greek mysticism. And what they have done is to transport the image of the shrine into the church, especially for the Catholic Church. If I had to understand, when they say in the church there's a tabernacle, and the tabernacle is where there's a Christ, and his body and the blood of Christ is there, so it's sacred. So you have to behave yourself before the Lord, because I've been a Catholic before. And so you even ask that when you have to do prayer, you have to dress formally, you have to generate energy, positive energy, you have to project what you have to say, and then you have to be in silence. Right? They cherish more of meditation. They cherish more of meditation, like the Buddhists would do. That is in that kind of state that you will get the required messages. And so that kind of state is what the Africans do in the shrine. That's what we do in the shrine. But when we meet at a gathering, we want to generate, we want the energy to boil, we want to invoke the energy. And in that state of things, some things, positive things happen. Okay, positive things happen. So, and then what you see with the Pentecostal churches is that they have taken the African ritual of gathering at the village square to make prayer. That's what they have taken to the church. While the Orthodox churches are taking the shrine practice into church. And so that's where I look at it.
Okay. And what about what about meditation? Meditation is preferable in a shrine, or is it preferable in a when you have a collective gathering? How does that play? Because I know some churches you're expected to meditate while everybody's around, as opposed to in a shrine. You know, it's a monarchy, so to speak. You know, I am one with the Creator, me and Chineke. We are speaking to each other. But you find meditation in the church and being quiet and all of that stuff. The shrine environment is brought to a collective environment. So I'm just asking, what is the difference in terms of the energy? I mean, is the universe hearing, or does it matter? Does it matter how you pray, when you pray?
Well, for me, if I am to follow the logic of prayer, insofar as you follow the whole essence of prayer, is that you have the right mind, you have the right thoughts, and you are projecting. You are just like playing the right key when it comes to music in the organ or your piano. So to pray, what matters, if you follow the logic of prayer, what matters is that you have everything on point. That's what matters. And so some people will like to chant. They like to chant and invoke. And some people will like to do the same invocation using thought processes. Like I do know that since I was in the secondary school or primary school, there could be noise everywhere and I'll be in a state of trance. I can't even hear the noise. In the whole, so in the midst of turbulence, I can be suddenly in a trance, and nothing touches me for that at that moment. Nothing touches me. Nothing comes close to me. All right, and so that's why for me, if you look at the Orthodox churches, you'll see that some inventions, some discoveries were made by some attendees in the church. Why in Orthodox church? So because of the kind of atmosphere, because the whole essence of Orthodox church is to revibrate a kind of mystique you have in shrine. But when you get to the shrine, you see the awesomeness of God, of Chineke. And it is discovered, the mysteriousness, that awesomeness is discovered in state of tranquility. All right, that's when you discover it, and so you'll find that in some inventions, like the man who perfected the pendulum, is it that he discovered the pendulum or perfected the pendulum? It was in a church. Others were busy praying, but his mind was to do something, and he saw how he could perfect it. Now, that could also happen in a Pentecostal church if the person is the type who falls into trance. So, but the thing there is that it depends on the method the individual has mastered. And that's why we talk about the act of Dibia. There are Dibias who are specialists in invocations and evocation. And they use words, they use chants. And there are Dibias who are specialists in going into trance. And whichever method you have mastered to achieve your result, you become the master of that process. Dibia. All right.
No matter where you are, no matter where you are, if you've mastered that, no matter where you are.
Yeah, because the Buddhists, the Hindus, most of the religions of the Asians, they are mostly trained in the act of yoga, and yoga does not require you to make noise and all that, but they also have feasting times and ritual times where they beat drums, make invocations. So I think there are different moments and different patterns for prayer, and those patterns and moments will achieve what you want insofar you follow the logic, like Dibia Chiedozie has said. Make sure you have the right things at the right places, everything on point, and just make sure everything is right. And if you do the right things and you keep your prayers, you're consistent on it, because the thing about prayer is mind projection. That's the thing about prayer, mind projection. And that's why I said it is either mind over matter or mind over mind. If it is mind, if you are projecting towards a need, it's mind over matter. If you are projecting to heal someone, it is mind over mind. Because what you are doing is to pray for that individual, but the first thing you do for that individual, like Dibia Chiedozie said, is to put the person in the right mental state. When the person is in the right mental state, then the mind takes possession of the body. And once the mind takes possession of the body, other faculties of the mind are woken up, like the subconscious, the unconscious parts of the mind. And the thing, that's why I said there are other dimensions to prayer and incantation. The thing about prayer is that it is working on the subconscious. And once the subconscious takes the command and issues it to the conscious, it manifests in the physical.
Okay, very good, very good. I saw Yudi, you had your hand up.
Yeah, that's along the lines of what was Dibia Chiedozie was talking about, and I think that's very important to note. Because you could be in an environment with a whole lot of people, but then you possess the ability to disengage and focus inward. You and Chineke and the spirit world. No matter what's going on around you, as human beings, we have the ability to do that. It's a question of training your mind so that you're comfortable doing that. Just like Dibia Chiedozie, expressed earlier on, when he was answering your question. Some people are trained in the art of incantation. Some people are trained to reflect inward, to take in everything and still function independently, of what's going on around them. And all this is about psychological focusing. A lot of processes and the incantations and everything that we do, they have to serve two purposes. One is for psychological focusing, and the other one is what I call collective indoctrination. You understand? You have certain ways of doing things, you repeat it over and over, you demand it, and after a while it becomes part and parcel of the collective effort to indoctrinate everybody under a common spiritual or religious focus. And you do it through indoctrination. And then secondly, or should I say, firstly, believe it or not, it is done through violence. The Catholic Church, who used violence more than anybody else to indoctrinate people by force, whether you like it or not, to control. And when you control people, what do you control? You control their purses. You control their economic efforts. You control that. And when you control economics, you have what? Power. So once this process is institutionalized and taken away from your personal responsibility as a spiritual human being, right? To thank the Creator, to ask for forgiveness for your transgressions, so on and so forth. Once the whole thing is institutionalized, it's about power. It's about control. So when you show up there every Sunday and you think that your prayer is only powerful when you're in this environment, being told to do certain processes and do certain things in the prayer exercise, and you believe that if you don't do it the way it's prescribed for you, then your prayer means nothing, then you have been indoctrinated. So there has to be a distinction between indoctrination and your personal relationship with the forces that you're asking to help you out in whatever your situation might be. Right?
Yeah.
So that's really how I look at it. That's what it means to me. Huh? What did you say?
It's like she ceased. The voice just ceases momentarily.
Okay.
Am I okay now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hear you better. What were you saying?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Dibia. Okay, I have a question that I want to pose. I have another question I want to pose. People get angry, right? They get angry and something to hurt them. Then they say, I will ask the Creator to do this and do that to you. We actually have sometimes that as human beings, we're so angry with someone that we think that we can pray some negativity their way. How does that work for us? If we're offering people negative prayers, what comes back to us? Do we inherit what it is we're praying, that we're throwing out into the universe against somebody else? Does that have a way of coming back to us, as far as your understanding of prayer is?
Of course. Again, I said before, here's the thing, right?
Dibia Chiedozie, you're not responding. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
You are asking him the question? Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, I think I have seen this practically.
Yeah, I was asking him the question.
I get the question. I get the question. We should know that the universe is built on, like we said, logic of cause and effect. And so that's why, and I said that our ancestors anchor their prayer on the balance of Onogu. And that's why our ancestors, before they make prayers, they first they hold the chalk. They first use the chalk on the ground and then use it on themselves to spell on themselves before they break cola and say prayers and break cola. Now, when they say they pronounce Ejimofo Nogu, na soaro, na bararu also, on fairness, equity, justice, honesty, and truth, innocence, I stand. And I abhor all that is evil. Then they will say, I have not, even that of Onogu is what you know as the principle of Mat in Egyptian spirituality. And so they say, I have not done this. I have not done this. I have not done this to anyone. And should anyone do it to me, back to sender.
So that's the negative confessions. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the negative thing there is that. So I remember that when we talked about Onogu, Dibia Chiedozie spoke on that Onogu does not mean pray for your enemies. It means do not judge, for you be judged, because the measure you give is a measure you receive back. Now, the thing there is like there is what you call cosmic justice, and this cosmic justice is known in today's literature as karma. Yes. What goes around comes around. Situations do boomerang. Now, if you utter a word, maybe depending on who you are, because there are people who have potency of personality, potency of words, and such people are advised to be cautious of their tongues and their thought. I have my former driver who retired early this year. You see him sitting aloof most of the time. He doesn't mix with other drivers. And he doesn't stay anywhere there's high temper. He withdraws. And so fellow drivers started badmouthing him. He's too proud. He's too that. So one day he walked up to them. He said, which one do you prefer? That you anger me and I utter something and it happens. And if I am wrong, it happens to me. Is it not better that I stay where I control my thought and control my mouth? So that's why most of the time you have when we're immediately children are born, we do divination to find out their potency, their eke, their ago, and their chi, so that we know the kind of personalities they are and how we train them to control their thoughts. For those with potency in their tongue, that whatever they utter, it will happen. But if you utter it and it goes, the person you are uttering it to is higher in evolution and in energy, and is sitting on the principle of Onogu, the person is unblemished. Of course, that is going to bounce back on the person, on the one who uttered it. It is a law of the universe, and that law guides the messages we send, either by our phones or the internet. If you send a message and it doesn't get to the right address, it will come back as a mail demon. That's the same law. It's the same law. So it's nothing so mysterious. Because the universe is anchored on the laws of checks and balances, which the Egyptians captured in the principle or theory of Mat, and our own ancestors captured on the principle or theory of Onogu, and that we should always maintain the middle path of Izearu, Isoaru, and so that when we stand on the right path, whatever is cast to us that is evil once we're innocent, it will go back to sender. But if you are not sitting on the right path, and even you are innocent too, but you are not doing what is right, and some pronouncement is made to the individual, then it is bound to take effect. And so that's why our ancestors say it is better for you to obey the laws, because following the principle of balance in the universe, they have the name, they summarize it in the name, Ogugbuaja. You can make all the sacrifices, kill all the animals, do all the things, but if you do not follow the path of balance of Ogu, you will waste your time. And so that's why our ancestors always did everything they did on Ogu. They asked Ijiko for, and to Jirofo, these days people go and just make symbol and say so for. So there's the need now for what they call Ofodi. Yeah, Anambra will say Ofodi. That's Ofo based on the principles of equity, fairness, justice, innocence, balance, making sure you're on the right path every time. So that way, when you when you are looked for and you are found on the path of balance, whatever force is sent, we always go back to the sender and say, that person is too innocent for me to take. However, I must mention, do not think that innocence alone saves you. You can be innocent and you'll be taken. That is why you need to always invoke the forces of the universe. Remind the forces of the universe, I am here. I am your child.
Yeah.
And that's why you do pray. That's why you do pray. That's why you do meditations. It is to remind the cosmic forces that you are here, because if you do not speak
it out there.
Not heard.
That's right. That's right. So, thank you. I want to throw this in, then I have a question for you. In summary, let's just be reminded that we as human beings, even with animals, and we're interconnected. It's that interconnectedness that whatever we put out there, that energy, all of us benefit from it. So if you're putting out negative energy, you're going to benefit from that negative energy as well. So it's so very important that we are not, even if somebody does something wrong with you, don't ever offer a prayer of wickedness, a prayer of bad things to happen to that person, because when you throw it out there, it comes back. Okay, it lands on me, it lands on him, so it doesn't just land on that person that you're praying, for negativity, you're issuing negativity around. It does spread. So be careful what you pray out there. Yudi, I have this question for you. This is a very interesting one, because people always talk about, the witches. This is happening to me because of the witches. This person is a witch, that person is a witch. Do you think that sometimes we are actually, in some way, our way of eliminating guilt is found in us blaming other forces or other human beings, but then those human beings we cannot view them as mere human beings, because then that means, who are we? I mean, another fellow human being is doing this to me. But if we ascribe some kind of forces, some kind of power against that person, or give that person a certain power, like we say, oh, he's a witch, or she's a witch, or he's a wizard and she's a witch, and all that stuff, it kind of justifies what supposedly we think they're doing to us, when this is really how we're thinking. We're really the ones thinking that someone else is bad, when we are the ones who are. No, I don't know. Am I making sense? Do you understand what I'm saying, Yudi? When we ascribe the power, to somebody, we claim that somebody is doing something to us, but it cannot be a regular person doing something to us, because that makes us weak. But that person has to be powerful. He has to be a wizard or a witch, But sometimes I think that it is us who mentally are really not very good. We're not very good people, you know, so we have to ascribe our own negativity against somebody else. I don't know if I'm coming across exactly as I want to come across. But do you get what I'm trying to say?
I see where you're going, absolutely, where you're going with this stuff, you know. And I mean, there's not really another way of really putting it out succinctly. But before I touch on that a little bit, I'm going to touch on what Dibia Chiedozie had just talked about. Actually, it's about a question that you had asked him, and talking about, you know, people casting this negative spell on somebody, you know, and how can you counter that and all that? And I would say this, and one of the most powerful incantations in prayer, as an Nkporoman in Igbo land, is the incantation that says, there you go,
right there. Right. Yes.
So,
yes, right there.
Like Dibia Chiedozie was talking about, there are processes and expectations and learned incantations to tackle a lot of things in life that you could come across, right? It's sort of like a prescription for a certain illness. There are certain behaviors, there are certain incantations, there are certain prayers that target different issues that we may have with ourselves as human beings. And one of the things that human beings still don't want to understand is the fact that your most important relationship is your fellow human beings. It's as important as your respect for the rivers and the water that has the fish that you fish and the water you drink, the land that you toil, the rain that comes down. Those things that sustain you, your fellow human being is an integral part of the forces of nature that sustain you. The lightning can't do anything for you, but it's a force of nature. But the only thing it can do to you is to help what? To fortify and create an environment that allows you to breathe and function as a living organism. Same thing with the rain. But the rain is not going to take you from point A to B unless you have a boat on the river. The rain is not going to drive you through Lagos to Ibadan. The rain is not going to put money in the bank for you. The land is not going to do all those things, but you could end up having money in the bank if you manage all these things, including your relationship with your fellow human being, because let's be honest, 99.9% of all the blessings that is bestowed upon you by Chineke comes through somebody else. It comes through a human being. Your environment sustains you. That's the way it is. It not only sustains you, it sustains the lion. It sustains the cockroach.
Yeah.
So you're not the only one that the environment was designed to sustain. As a matter of fact, before human beings came about, there were animals here. Dinosaurs, breathing the same oxygen. There were insects. There were living organisms. Before Lucy came 5 million years ago, 7 million years ago. Before human beings started to, you know, evolve. Life was already on this planet. So what we fail to understand is how important our relationship with our fellow human beings are. Because they're really the people that you deal with on a daily basis. I don't deal with lions on a daily basis. Unless I end up where lions are, then they'll have me for lunch. I don't see alligators all the time unless I'm in the river. But the human beings, I'm going to be a human being, I'm going to see on the river. I'm going to see at the airport. I'm going to see on land.
You know, I want you to answer that specific question, either you or Chiedozie. Everything you're saying is wonderful, but I don't want you to respond to that particular question. Why do we ascribe to somebody else something that has happened to us? But that person,
that's the point I was making with the relationship with the human being.
Okay, now, okay. All right. So in effect, what I'm asking is it part of our own personal weakness? or is it part of us not admitting our own evil ways?
Yes, that's it, exactly. The later.
What we're experiencing, but we're ascribing it to somebody else.
Somebody else. It's your own shortcoming.
Yeah, there you go. That's
it's your own. That's the point I'm trying to make to you. It's your own shortcoming.
That's right.
That you're projecting on somebody else, because if you respected your fellow human being as a divine necessity that helps perpetuate your existence on earth, that you will not be so quick to judge. You won't be so quick to put somebody else under just to bring yourself above them, right?
Like those children that are called witches.
The level of selfishness that we have as human beings that makes us not spiritual beings in terms of appreciating the importance of having relationship with a fellow human being. Like I mentioned before, most of your blessings is going to come through somebody. And it is your inadequacy as a spiritual being that you're expressing when you try to put something on somebody else to diminish them and elevate yourself. You understand? Your phonogu comes in.
Excuse yourself.
Yeah.
Excuse yourself.
Exactly. Ofonogu is the second most important aspect of our traditional ontology. That's what controls relationships. I don't care if you got plenty of fish in the water. I don't care if you have many animals to eat. I don't care if the air is so beautiful, it smells like roses. If you have a terrible relationship with your fellow human being, you will never enjoy all these other blessings. So we must appreciate people as much as we appreciate the air, the meat. People are the most vital part of this whole thing. I mean, let's put it this way to you. Think about this. Good air, plenty of fish to eat, meat, everything. But you are the only human being in this world. What is life worth to you then? It's just you. You got everything now. You're a king, but nobody's bowing down to you. So you must understand the imperative nature of having sound spiritual relationships with a fellow human being, because in the end, your shortcoming as a spiritual person, not paying attention to the core of human relationships, which is truth and justice and fair play. That's how we relate to one another. There's no other relationship you have with a fellow human being if it ain't based on truth, fair play, honesty, because that's the only way you can have a relationship. If those things are lacking, you will be murdering people and all that. You have no conscience. You feel nothing. They're not necessarily part of your existence. And they're gone. You don't need to trade with them because you got everything. So if you are the most important vehicle in the world, so be it. But you'll be here alone, on your own, and you will die alone. Now tell me, what kind of relationship is that? What is it that you want in this world that is worth negating your relationship with a fellow human being? Because you can have all these things and bad relationship. Those people that you have bad relationship with will come after you, and very soon your castle will crumble. So we cast our inadequacies on somebody else. We are the witch that we're trying to cast out of somebody else. We are the ones that took a mind there.
Yes.
Negative, 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 negative. Inferiority, superiority, blah, 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 blah. The world is full of chaos. Love is a fleeting notion, even though it said that love is the highest form of religion. Love. And he encompasses a whole bunch of stuff. Our relationship with a fellow human being, the world, animals, understanding that diversity is divine, understanding that our geography is responsible for our method of supplication to the Almighty Creator, where we're located. the culture that embodies a particular community is what's responsible for your supplication methods. All roses are not red. This is the part of the human inadequacy that we have to get rid of. Understanding that diversity is divine. Red rose, yellow rose, but they're all roses, dogs, German Shepherd, Beagle, Alsatian, Pit Bull, whatever, all kinds of dogs, but they're all dogs. Trees, Iroquois tree, the redwood, they're all trees. Diversity is what it's all about.
That's right.
But we spend so much time thinking there's something special about us and how we do things, and we have to force somebody else to see the world through our own prism. Then you created an environment that does not foster any kind of open communications, understanding, love, for Chineke to continue to do beautiful work on our soul, on our spirit, that we may begin to appreciate one another.
That's
and
right.
sometimes look inwardly first before blaming somebody else for something that we are really responsible for. Like you told me before I end, like you said to me, wherever your mind finds itself, in most cases, wherever your body finds itself, in most cases, your mind.
Your mind is there. True that. Excellent. Dibia Chiedozie, do you have anything you want to add there before I ask another question?
No, go on. Let's take another question.
Okay. Before I do ask that question, I want to remind everybody, Chi's University is the next semester is starting in July. Let me tell you, people, it is not about talking about your Africanness. It's deeper than what we're talking about here. If you register to become a student at Chi's University, you will learn so much. Chi's education, natural theology, African culture, African leadership styles, all of those things are part of what we are about. We want you to learn a little bit more. What we come here and talk about in 2 hours we're not even touching the surface of what information that you can learn by attending Chi's University. If I say it in Igbo, this is our own thing, and we must support it. If we're not going to support our own things, our own institutions and all of that, then what is all this is all about? What is this all about? So it is. We want you to be able to afford it. You go online, Chiism.org, Chiisuniversity.org. Go there and find out information about the university. It's starting, as Meta is starting, and we want you to be in there because this is not enough. What we're doing is not enough. And then the other thing is, as you see here, we are going to start having some services, and I don't know where anybody is. I'm going to announce where we're going to have a face-to-face services, and I want you to be a part of it. Wherever you are, if you can travel, if you can get on a plane, you can come to Atlanta. If you're in Atlanta, you can join us right here in Atlanta. But we want to meet you. We want you to meet us. So next Sunday, we're going to post for you where we are going to have our next event. Also, we're having Black Girls Rise. The African Women Mobilization Commission is having the Black Girls Rise event on July the 13th. When we have our next service, I'm going to post all that information. We need your support. We need you to come and hear about what we are doing around the world for women, for girls, for men, you name it. So Chiism has tentacles in everything. We believe in helping humanity. We believe when we pray, we don't pray for nothing but positivity. Okay, and we also understand that we have the capacity to make a change in our world, to impact our world. We don't want to wait and have other people do it for us. We have a responsibility. Okay, that is our philosophy. We are gods to each other. As Dibia Yudi and Dibia Chiedozie have been making it clear here. We need each other, and we must support each other. Someday we are all going to leave this earth. And the question would be, what are you going to be remembered for? What did you do? What did you contribute? You came, you ate, you died. Is that it? No. So what we're trying to do, and I am so honored to know Dibia Chiedozie, and I'm telling you people, what you're going to learn from this man is phenomenal. He's a phenom in Nigeria. Yes. He's one of the top professors in Nigeria and head of a department, and he's the head of our African history department. And Yudi, what can I tell you? Yudi, the son of KOK on your hand. What you learn from him, you're not going to learn from another anywhere. I'm sorry. This is a man who has learned under the Obaja, Dibia Obaja. Only is that his father. That is who taught him. I mean, you can't get a better training than that. So, Chi's education, that's his department. Register. And of course, I'm in charge of natural theology. What can I tell you? I'm looking forward to having my students learn as much as possible regarding the natural theology, the natural order of things, and how that pertains to our African spiritual traditions. You know, so let's not just come here in 2 hours and we're done. Register. We have changed the cost for it because we want to embrace more individuals to be able to participate. But please, this is how you support the whole effort. Chiism. We are trying to. Dibia Chiedozie kept making comments about that. We have to set up our institutions. But if you're not going to support the institution, then let's not hear about what they are doing to us. Because now we are the ones doing to ourselves. We've got the opportunity that we don't want to support it. So let us be the lions and the lionesses that we are, you know, swallow hard and say, okay, I'm going to pay to be a part of this experience. This is how you support. And if you can't attend and you know somebody who can, let them know. All right. So we really, really need you to register for this coming semester. Okay. I just wanted to share that with you. And so by the 4th of July, don't forget to go and register so we can get started. All right. I hope I covered that pretty much. Again, it's chiesuniversity.org. Chiesuniversity.org. Go there and find out a little bit.
Chies Mahadum.
Well, it's also Chies University.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah.
Chies Mahadum or chiesuniversity.org. This is our own thing. I just wanted to share with Yudi, and I was approached 2 days ago by a group in Nigeria, and they want to promote Chies University because they think we need to have this. We need it. So they're going to be helping us on the radio, on print media, and all of that stuff to promote Chies University. They just called me. I mean, I didn't call them. I don't know who they are. But they were so excited about what we're trying to achieve. So we're asking your support. And in addition to that, support the organization by your donations. Okay? You just make a donation. $5 here, $2 here, $3. I don't care. I want to thank Akachi. Akachi made a donation, a $25 donation the other day. And so we appreciate that. We certainly appreciate that. But we want you. Don't assume that this is not costing us money, because it does cost us money to keep doing this every Sunday. But so we can appreciate, if you really appreciate what we're doing, we want you to support us. Make your contributions. My darling nephew has been making a posting where you can send your funds. All right, and if you go to Chies University, it will also show you how to make your donations. All right. I want to continue by asking this question before we end. If the purpose of prayer is to serve as the conduit for balance, the conduit for collective energy, the conduit for individual perseverance, etc., etc., etc. What would you say, both of you, what message do you want to give our audiences today? What do you want them to leave with today about prayer? and make it as succinct. I don't want you to pull too many things together. I want you to give them 2 succinct things they need to know about prayer and how they must use this brand new knowledge, if it's indeed brand new, to move themselves a little bit further than when they came here today. I'll start with Dibia Chiedozie and then I'll end with Dibia Yudi.
You know this saying, theory derived from practice and practice theory derives from practice and theory directs practice. So when you pray, you must also work. Work and prayer go hand in hand. In fact, you must know that work in itself is practical prayer. But the thing there is that if you know the laws of the universe, you discover that no one succeeds without the help of the spiritual. And if that's one, then the other thing you have to know about prayer is that you have to constantly remind the cosmic mind, because according to my knowledge of African spirituality, chi spirituality, the universe, just like us, has mind, spirit, and body. The body is the physical thing you see. The mind is the creativity you see going on all the time in the universe. And the spirit is the vitality you see that the universe is alive. And so it is in the nature of the universe that we are incarnated and we are made. So when you pray, put yourself in the balance of the cosmic order and always project what is positive for yourself, and then project that positiveness out there to connect you and the other human beings and the cosmic forces. They will.
Excellent. They will. Wonderful. Yudi?
Yeah, he is on point. The balance of cosmic forces, right? And existence, there's 2 facets to existence in all areas. One is the physical, right? All the physical manifestation, including the human being. The other one is the spiritual. And they go hand in hand, right? Without recognition of the spiritual component of living, then you're not living. There's something wrong with you. Either you're a mental case, something was disjointed when you were born, so you're devoid. You know, it's sort of like there's some people that are born that can't feel pain. I'm sure you guys know that. You're both doctors. It's a medical condition. And if you can't feel pain, you're going to either self-destruct, right? Or you don't have the ability to protect yourself, your existence. Prayer is part of the ability to protect your mind that allows you to function as a spiritual being, to be able to foster the relationship that you must have, a balanced relationship with your environment, which includes your fellow human being. That's just the way it works. So for me, prayer is that instrument that joins the physical and the spiritual together so that your existence is meaningful and whole and adds positively to your environment and people around you. Anything outside of that creates disharmony, disunity. We become disjointed as human beings, as spiritual beings, without any understanding that there has to be this balanced relationship between the physical and the spiritual to help perpetuate our existence on earth.
Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful. And for my part, I just want to just emphasize, I can't overemphasize the fact that you cannot force the universe to work just for you.
Nope.
And against another. There is no religion, because all religions are man-made. Let's be honest. There is no religion that Chineke, Olodumare, Tamonaji, Yamika, Tonda, Nyemi, Nkosi, or whatever, Jesus, or whatever you call your God. There is no religion that God has said, or Chineke, or whatever, as I indicated, has said this is a perfect one. We are just little minuscules of molecules living in this whole scheme of things. None of us has the command of God's time to the extent at the exclusion of other people. What you focus is on you. How do I use my existence for good, to create harmony between my fellow human beings so that we will have a world of goodness? When I listen sometimes in the news, the people are, demanding that other people have to do this, or this country was based on this particular religion. And just recently, the 10 Commandments being in Louisiana. All the children must know the 10 Commandments. And yet the people who are putting the 10 Commandments are violating it. They're supporting people who are violating the very. So, it just tells you it's all man-made and it's designed for the good of those who design these religions. But the real true religion is love.
Yep.
That's the only religion. Love. Love yourself. Love your fellow human being. Give everybody the right to exist. Because there's a song that we say, the Creator did not say, oh, you're better. All that nonsense about these chosen people. And the very chosen people are killing in mass. So let's be clear. The purpose of prayer is to make you a better person, to channel your mind, draw attention to your needs. At the same time, if you throw out positivity in the universe, all that positive energy comes back to you and it spreads to everybody else and creates harmony in the world. Your role is not to create disharmony. Your role is to bring harmony. Through prayer, you can do that. Because as Dibia Chiedozie has said, and as Dibia Yudi has said, what you put out there, the law of the universe is that karma will return to you. Karma is a thing, is real. What you put out there comes back to you. So why don't you put out positive things? So positivity is what you receive. If you're not awful, what you seek, so shall you find. But as you are seeking it, be advised that other people are seeking the same thing. So it's not just yours. Don't try to take from others just so you will rise, as Dibia Yudi said. We can all rise together. The world belongs to everyone. We all breathe the same way, the same air, the same everything. But every time that we try to subjugate other people to a lesser position as we are, we find ourselves not moving forward. We find ourselves receiving the same energy. And Yuji, I don't know about you. Sometimes you go into the store, you see everybody's just like, they're angry.
Yeah.
Why are the faces all frowned? Because our thoughts manifest into reality. What we're thinking, we act out. If you're so angry all the time, it's because of how you're conducting your life. Moments of prayer are not being used properly. You're cursing at people and all that is coming back to you. I don't know about you, UD. I have something I enjoy doing. I do quite a bit of it lately. I can see somebody who I know that person is not having a good day or looks like she's mad at the world. And I just find something positive about that person to say to her or to him. My God, I love your hat. You are styling today. And automatically, it changes their whole attitude. Because for that moment, somebody recognized them or maybe has seen that something is not right and just said something they needed at that moment. Let's be about that. Let's be about humanity. Let's be about loving each other, being kind to each other. And that's quite frankly how Chineke works. If you made only order or hear Chineke, what you do for others, that's what God will do for you. Okay, put it out in that, put that energy out there, and ladies and gentlemen, you will yield. I mean, you will reap what you sow, and so it is. I want to thank the Honorable Dibias for being here today. Dibia Chiedozie, thank you for your workshop. I learned a lot from you today. Thank you, Dibia Udi. As always, okay. I learned a lot from you. Somebody just had a question before I end up. I just saw it. Hi, Akachi, how are you? She says, what about those who pray and use animal sacrifice to pay for something to happen quickly or gain favor? Oh my God, what a powerful question. Dibia Chiedozie, answer that one.
No,
did you
that's your charge, yeah.
Well, here's what it is. We said it before.
I put it both. You respond your way. Dibia Chiedozie, you respond your way.
Well, it's really simple. Dibia Chiedozie had alluded to it in the beginning. Nothing is free.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of what's the English word for it? Anyway, it will come to me. But blood sacrifice has always been required, not just in African religion, in all world religions. And as a matter of fact, it's like a covenant. Even in Christianism, Chineke did blood sacrifice. That's all that is. It's a blood sacrifice, and it doesn't have to be human. It's not an African thing. Animal sacrifices, all that. It is a covenant. It is the ultimate way of expressing, number one, belief. Your belief in the Creator, in the entity that you feel will help you resolve whatever issues you're having. It is the ultimate evidence that you believe that this particular entity will help you resolve an issue. Now, is it necessary all the time? No. Do you have to sacrifice every time you want to pray? No. Once in a while, you might decide to do that. Maybe once a year, you might decide to do that, like they do in the villages. Maybe in your household. It's an expression.
To sacrifice what? To sacrifice what?
How do you mean sacrifice what?
Animal.
You're saying once in a while you have to sacrifice
an animal. I mean an animal.
And the point
could be anything. It could be an animal. It could be fasting is a form of sacrifice.
Okay, now listen to the. I don't think you quite got the question. It says, what about those who pray and use animal sacrifice to pay for something to happen quickly or gain favor?
What about them?
In other words, is that a good thing? Is it necessary? Is it why do we have to do that?
No, that's the point I'm making. It's not necessary. But if you do that, it's just a way of you sacrificing something, of you proving that you have a level of belief in the entity that you're putting trust in to help you resolve whatever issue you have. It doesn't mean that every time you want to solve a problem to gain favor, you got to go sacrifice something. No, you could pray about it. It works just as good. This is all about the psychological impact of your belief in something. And then for you personally speaking, you feel that you've made this specific sacrifice, and it gives you this confidence that you now have this relationship with this entity that will go whatever direction that it is that you're looking for it to happen. Once a year in Buru, they kill cattle when they do New Yam Have Festival in the village square.
But
they kill cattle, they sacrifice something.
But they eat it. I mean, the sacrifice.
They sacrifice, and then they eat it. That's all it is.
Yeah, the purpose also, to kill a cow, the ultimate goal is to use it to feed
Exactly. Even in Christianity, they tell you, of course, their own stuff is different. I don't know what you really, but they're eating the blood and drinking the flesh and all that. It all kind of like comes out to the same kind of thing, right? It's some kind of a bunch of kind of thing. But it's not on a daily basis. Every time you want to pray, you have to go kill something. No. But once in a while, people will do it. They will do it as the ultimate way of saying, hey, I believe in this stuff. I'm going to sacrifice this animal to show my devotion. And then ultimately people get fed anyway. So you've now partaken in the spiritual stuff and it's entered everybody's body because they ate out of this, and everybody now leaves this situation believing that their spiritual needs and things that they pray for and all that is going to be taken care of. And if you don't really believe in it, you can't do it. Everything is based on faith and belief. But faith, like Chiedozie had said, Dibia Chiedozie said before, it has to be logical. And you have to have power of work behind prayer.
Okay.
That's my answer.
All right. Excellent. Okay, Dibia Chiedozie, your
Dibia Chiedozie has already said everything. I will just put it in a way that it will be simpler to understand. Life is about give and take. So if you want certain specific things, then you go to an entity that is responsible for that thing you are looking for.
Yeah.
And then you offer the entity a promise. If you don't have the money, okay, maybe you are looking for a job, and like in Nigeria here, there is an advertisement for a computer high-tech company, and it's going to fetch maybe 1 million or 2 million naira per month. All right. And so there is this guy, he's a whiskey, he does all sorts of things with computer, is natural with him, is the ABI in him or her, but he just has a pass from the university because he had to take care of a lot of things, no finance and so on and so forth. He has to go and take care of father, take care of mother. Now, under normal circumstances, that kind of human being will not be given the job. He needs an extra force beyond the cosmic universal force that has been built for that particular kind of purpose. And that's where the issue of Argo comes in, and some engines. Here we talk about issue. So that engine has been built for that particular, then you go there and promise it something. Say, I don't have money, but I promise that my first salary that is going to be in 2 months, you must be specific. If you say in 1 month and you don't break it in 1 month, come and give an excuse. It's an energy. It will strike. So you have to give a time range that is, you say, okay, in 2 months I will come. You assume that in 2 months or 3 months, you're listening. So I will bring you a so percent of my salary. I will use it to give you what you want. So the thing there is that entity needs the blood, because it's what we call the plasma, cytoplasm. If you do not give that blood, that entity will take your own blood. And because the Dibia that is in charge of that entity knows that the entity functions by blood, because blood is like the fuel, is the fuel for that, is the engine. That's why I call these things are organic engines. It is the knowledge of all these that we use in building the same car, phone, and we are recharging them. You have to recharge your phone, you have to plug it. That's the kind of a thing. You have to put a battery in your phone. You have to charge the battery. You have to charge the battery of your car with the alternator. You have to put fuel. So it's an engine. And that engine, you require it to go and do something for you. And so going to do something for you, you give it what it requires, blood. And the blood of the animal you can afford, or the type it wants, so that it can use that plasma, that energy, to go work for you. If you don't have, just sow a seed. I will bring in it. Then they will bring that animal and sacrifice on your behalf. When you have money, you pay them back. That's my little understanding about that. Thank you.
Yes, true.
Okay. Well, there are all different interpretations, and the important thing is that you do the research and know exactly what works for you. For me personally, I would sacrifice vegetables, some fruit. I'll bring some fruit and vegetables to Chineke. Everything else to me is sacred, but that doesn't mean that different cultures don't regard,
vegetables are sacred, though.
Yeah, no, I just want to say one thing real quickly. This is very important. I just want to mention, because I forgot to mention it. The idea about blood, right? Blood is a life force that exists both in animals and human beings, right? So the sacrifice comes out of that, the life force of all animals. That's really what that boils down to. So that's why it's important, not just in Igbo culture. This is in every religion in the world. They all recognize that relationship. And so all of them are involved in blood sacrifices. So I just want to kind of throw that out there.
Yeah, but I just want to make clear, for me as a Chiist, I will not sacrifice anything living for the purpose of seeking intervention, okay? I would rather give fruits and vegetables and things of that nature. But that, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that for me as a Chiist, that is my preference. Because animals are living beings, living things, and we may not appreciate them necessarily, but
they will eat them, or we kill them and eat them.
Unless, wait a minute, now here, the point I'm trying to make. If you are using the blood of something that's, we eat them, yes, but usually when I go and buy them, they're already cooked, they're already ready for me to prepare. But if you buy them fresh to cook, if you want to spill that blood, okay, and use it in incantation, right, and then eat it. But I'm just saying it cannot be for the purpose of just doing, asking for intervention, by the Creator, by spilling blood, and the purpose, the end state is not for it to become food. If it's for food, I understand, but if it's just for sacrifice, that's just not my Chiist preference anyway. Dibia Chiedozie, you were saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to chip in that
yes, go ahead.
The vegetables have plasma, and that plasma, their fluid, is their blood.
Yes, absolutely.
So they are also alive. They have life. They have life, and
yeah, I understand that. I understand that.
And the thing there is that there are engines. There are engines that also use plant plasma, and but most of the engines use animal blood.
Okay, well, I'm just going to get away from all that blood stuff. As far as I'm concerned, if you want to use blood, it's on you. Me, vegetables and fruit is all I care. I don't want to see anything hurt like that, just for the purpose of sacrifice.
And some egusi soup, some egusi soup.
As a mangala.
Yeah, but that's. But you're eating that to nourish your body, to kill something just and throw it away. If you're eating it, it's one thing, but for it to be used just for sacrifice, be careful. The reason why I say that is because there are people who actually think that you, as a human being, is something that can be sacrificed. So we need to really impress upon people that you need to really think about that. And before you go crazy and start using, because there are some Asian people who do that, Okay, well, anyway, thank you guys. It's good to have the energetic component of the conversation. And Akachi, as we get through that in there, and we came alive and we had an argument over it. That's very, very, appreciate it. That's very good. So anyway, I look forward to seeing all of you again next Sunday. This has been a wonderful show. We even went over 14 minutes. It was that interesting. So anyway, thank you, Dibia Chiedozie. Thank you, Dibia UD. Thank you, Emeka. Thank you, Charles Kuna. And thank you, Akachi. And thank you, I believe there's somebody else that I saw his name today. But anyway, all those who are here.
Kwame Anu.
Yes, Kwame. Yes, Kwame Anu. Oh, thank you all for being here today. And we look forward to having you back again next Sunday. Remember, go to the website, register. Let's talk some more. Let's go into more depth about Chiism. And so it is. Take care, everyone.